Looks better. That's what most places. It looks better. You can hold that over top of it. They got siding. They got siding. Right. What's those initial rates? For the trucks. Those back in the woods here. Constant. At least go in the woods. Yeah, over there we. Well, we got trucks now, so we can take multiple loads and because what happens is, it's already on that end of town, so, the more you can take, the. So,
apologies. I think it was that one. Which one? This one. No. Not sure which mic it was. It's one of those.
Good afternoon. Notice is hereby given that the City Council of the City of Caldwell, Burleson County, Texas, will convene in a regular meeting at the City Hall, regular meeting place thereof at 5:30 p.m. March 21st, 2023. There is a quorum present, so we will begin. Our pledge will be given by Cameron McCullough and our invocation tonight by Rhonda Tomasi. Please stand.
Father, we come before you tonight, and first of all, we thank you that you're the one in charge of Caldwell as it goes through expansion. We thank you for wise choices and wise decisions that are made. We want to proclaim peace over our atmosphere. We thank you for the rain, and we thank you that you are ordering our steps, and you are giving wisdom and knowledge to the City Council regarding some project coming up that they have your mind on. So we thank you, sir, in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. We don't have any citizens to be heard on agenda items, but we do have a few that are to be heard on city-related topics. And our first one tonight is Mr. Brian Crawford.
I guess in October of 2021, I got solar panels installed in my house. I don't know if I'm the first one in town, but I'm right over this way. But anyways, in that time, they got up and running and everything. You know, we had the pretty bad winter storm and all that stuff. I had the battery. They've proven to be really pretty great. But so far, I haven't really benefited from them in terms of financially, you know, as you normally would, because there is no buyback program. So I guess what I wanted to bring up, one was that there was one on the horizon, maybe for there's a lot of new houses coming in, you know, and also because I've had a lot of people just anecdotally come to me or come actually to my home, like to the house, knock on the door to ask about the panels and, you know, about how effective they are, like, you know, how I got them, which company, if having the battery was worth it, things like, you know, because it's a pretty considerable kind of investment. But anyways, again, that's just anecdotal, but a lot of people have been repelled from the idea because there is no buyback program. So what I was wanting to ask, if there wasn't a buyback program, if instead there would be something that would just eliminate my bill. You know, I don't expect there to be an entire apparatus to pay me back for something you didn't tell me to get, you know, but the idea would be just something that could eliminate the bill because, for instance, on the paper you see, this is skewed somewhat by, you know, the winter and months in which there wasn't a lot of sun, but you guys sent me 8.4 megawatts and I gave you back 3.5. You know, it's, again, this will include from 21 to 23, 4 months in which the system was on, but I wasn't, but the solar panels were not. You know, you guys have, there's a whole process for that, basically, and I got a meter at that point that is a return and a deliver meter. Anyways, so this is skewed a little bit, probably not so much in my favor, but I thought this data is data. So anyways, like I said, I'm giving you guys a lot back. And this specifically, you can see I produced 11.6 megawatts just in that time, you know. And then we had a lot of times, like there was a pretty bad tornado, remember, stuff like that, in which power never went off. It was pretty good. And actually, the next day, you know, if there wasn't power during that day, I was also still giving you. Imagine all the houses doing that, you know, the load that would take off for you guys. But again, I spoke with Mr. White for a second there, and there's a lot of conversations that have to probably happen. But again, I don't expect there to be an infrastructure put in place just for me. Because again, I don't know how many people have solar panels in Caldwell. I don't think it's a huge amount, not yet. But I guess somebody's got to be the first one to ask. And I guess if it's me, that's all right. You know. Other than that, I don't really have much else.
Okay.
Just, I exist and they exist.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Crawford.
Cranford with the N.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cranford.
No, that's it.
Cranford.
I have a delightful handwriting.
After the community input today, I will make a statement, and then there will be no further discussion after that. Next up, we have Mr. Gordon Richardson.
I came tonight to talk a little bit about my feelings of the Civic Center and the background that I have as a resident of Caldwell since 1967. Mr. Broadus put money back that some of you know about for over 20 years, so that when the time came to have a Civic Center, the city just wrote a check for it. There wasn't any debt involved in it. It was just delivered to the city through his efforts over the 20 years. His intention was that the Civic Center would be the jewel of the community, that it would be open and available to all different groups, the schools, different civic groups, Lions Club, Rotary, so forth and so on. And it would be attended on a regular basis. In addition to that, as you all know, there's a museum that was established in the center, and I was in at the Gate 12 restaurant recently in College Station, and the owner knew that I was from Caldwell, and he introduced me to these people from Lubbock who said they came all the way from Lubbock to come to the museum and couldn't get in. They were very disappointed, to say the least. And when you look back at the intention of the Civic Center, it was considered to be, and hopefully to be, manned when people would come in, and it would be used as a focal center for people that were looking for help, different things in the community. So I know there's been some efforts to cut back on the attendance there, and I think that it's unfortunate that the vision that Mr. Broadus had is not continued because of the lack of employees on the job there. And I guess the argument had been made that the employees are there and they're not always busy, but different assignments could be put in their position to answer the telephone, give directions, and so forth. But I'm just hopeful that Mr. Broadus's vision would be continued and not diminished. You know, I think you probably are aware that the high school for some years had their dance, if you will, at the Civic Center, and the fees have gone up so much that they've had to give up having a function there. And that's really unfortunate. I know all of our taxes in this room have gone up, including mine, and I would hope that the Civic Center could be available to functions like the Caldwell High School and other functions, and they wouldn't be denied availability because of fees involved. So I'm just here as a citizen and hopeful that the Civic Center will be treated like the jewel of Caldwell that it is, and I appreciate the opportunity you've given me to visit.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Next up, we have Mr. Charles Sylvester.
I've lived in Caldwell the last 51 years. Grew up in Burleson County. Burleson County is my home. And I'm proud of the town where I live. I'm proud of our county. and I've seen things that we've tried to do and work in the direction. I have a concern about our civic center. I understand why it was built. I recognize its purpose. I'm also very much aware of the interest that we've had from other counties and other cities about our civic center as being a bright star within our community, and very concerned about taking away and turning it into something that was not planned for when it was built. The money raised was from hotel motel taxes, and was used to build that building. And we've been able to use it. It's been, as noted earlier, by numerous organizations, from high school, our school system, to our Lions and our Rotary Club, and to others who want to have various functions here in our civic center. And I appear before you today for the purpose of saying I don't think that turning it into a library would be in the best interest of our community, of our county. I think that we can find other means of addressing those issues without destroying our civic center and what we have and what we've been able to build. Hope that you as a city council would protect our civic center and allow it to remain for the purpose that it was initially built for. That's a concern that I have, and I would very much oppose turning it into something other than what it was originally built for. And it's a very, very bright star within our community. We have something to offer that other communities do not have. And I think that's very critical in what we do. There are ways around addressing the library issue, working with our schools, working with the county, working with the city, all contributing to be able to, if we need a library, if that's what our need is, let's address that issue. But let's not destroy something in addressing it. And those are my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Sylvester. Thank you all for your input today on a subject that is obviously very important to you. I am not quite sure where all of the misinformation is coming from, but I have an idea. The library move to the Civic Center has only been a discussion by the council. I also hope that you all would have enough faith in us as a council to know that we would never make a decision of this magnitude without first seeking community input. Again, this was only a topic of discussion, not a done deal. The Civic Center is celebrating 20 years of being open, and the city has never made a profit from the rentals of the Civic Center. That is why the council has had numerous conversations about improving the efficiency of the operations of the Civic Center. If the move was made, the Civic Center would still be available for rental for club and corporate meetings, as well as large events such as banquets, and of course the museum would remain open. The city is trying to use its existing resources to keep the city within budget, especially in this time in which high inflation and probable increase in interest rates will slow the economy even more than it already has. The city is trying to control spending, and this move could be a viable option. The existing library is over 60 years old and needs slab and structural repair at a cost estimated at over $120,000. Plus, the programs that Heidi Frazier has put in place have been so successful that the library is simply not large enough to accommodate the growing number of participants that are utilizing these community-sponsored programs. To me, this is a great problem to have. Caldwell is growing, and with growth comes change. We as a city council must have the courage to implement changes that improve Caldwell and benefit all citizens of Caldwell. We must have the strength to see it through and the faith that everything will turn out for the best. In the words of John F. Kennedy, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present will surely miss the future. I appreciate the citizens that have personally reached out to me to discuss this, because to me, that is what defines Caldwell. Our community is a great community where we can have a serious conversation about something that you feel passionate about. If any of you want to contact me or any of the council members, we all have our business cards. You can email us. You can call Melissa. We don't respond to Facebook critics. That's just not, to me, the place to address a situation, especially of this magnitude. So you won't see any reply from the city or from any of us personally on Facebook about this. But again, every single person that came to me with an issue about the library moving to the Civic Center, every single one of you had some false information. And I know where it came from, but I'm hoping that this meeting will correct that, because again, I would hope that you would have enough faith in us that we would never make a decision of this magnitude without community input. That's all I have to say, and we will proceed. On the consent agenda, we are going to consider the approval of the minutes of the February meetings and consider approval to authorize city staff to seek time warrant bids in the amount of $600,000 for capital improvement projects and assets to be funded by IS debt rate for fiscal year 2023. Do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, under regular agenda items, the Caldwell Municipal Election Cancellation Order.
In your packet, you'll see that we had no one else sign up for the election other than the unopposed candidates. You'll see the order of cancellation and the certification of unopposed candidates, and this will terminate the election for this year. I'll need
do we have a motion to cancel the Caldwell municipal election? Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, we will be hearing from Jared from Strand, and he will be talking about utilizing CDBG method of distribution funds for a detention pond project to improve drainage flows for the northwest portion of the city.
Well, he's passing that out. I'll just kind of tee this up. These are the mid-mod funds that we procure, we went through the process, the RFP process to be a grant administrator, also the RFQ process to establish Strand as the engineer on this project. The amount awarded was $892,100. The next three budget items will deal with the projects that we're hoping to get done with some of that money. At least, I don't know that we'll catch all three of these items at all as far as, the allotment of money that we're given. But, as we go through these, we probably have these in order of how we'd want to pick these off. So if we are able to bid out two or three and then do one as an alternate package, that's probably what we do. I think Jared will be able to answer questions on just about any of them. I should have some answers as well, but I'll hand it over to him to kind of discuss. What he's going to go over is a drainage study that was performed a year ago.
End of 21.
Okay, end of 21. And then kind of talk about the detention project a little bit.
Thank you. Mayor, Council, we were tasked with investigating the drainage and flooding issues in the northwest part of the city, kind of by the industrial park, about a year ago. And to start with, we established the existing conditions. Went out there and surveyed the existing channels, existing storm structures, kind of got all the existing infrastructure from basically the industrial park to kind of the baseball field where the drainage channel empties out. So what you have in front of you is the first page. There is a picture of the area that would benefit from this drainage project. And then if you'd like to flip to page 2, we, with the input of city staff, established that we could use a 100-year storm as an evaluation criteria. And with that, we went through and investigated different storm durations. So we used Atlas 14 storm water criteria to do that. Just to kind of give you perspective, a 100-year storm would be 2.9 inches in 30 minutes, 3.87 inches in 60 minutes, and this is rainfall, 5.2 inches of rain in 2 hours, 6.2 inches of rain in 3 hours, 8 inches of rain in 6 hours, or 10 inches of rain in 12 hours. So those are all considered 100-year storms. So we evaluated all of those to find which one had the biggest impact on this area as far as flooding goes. And we found that to be the 3-hour storm. So 6.2 inches in 3 hours created the kind of the heat map or the flooding map you see in the second picture. And go ahead and play the video. This kind of shows what you show the first one. Sorry. So this is a video of the existing conditions and the flooding that's seen. The bluer colors are less deep water, but as they get lighter, that's deeper water. And then so you can see with duration of the storm how the area kind of just fills up and then starts to retreat. With this information, we kind of identified in the top left there's a corner of vacant land, and identified that as a potential area that a detention basin could be placed. And what that would do is it would capture the water and then let it out slowly. So downstream, you wouldn't see as big of an impact. So that was the first thing that we tried. We put that in the modeled that, and quickly saw that there were some other issues that needed to be addressed. Play the video again. If you'll notice the industrial park, where that driveway is, water stage is up at that area, and it goes over San Antonio and then down Temple. So that's another area that we'd like to address is increase the number of pipes from 2 to 4 pipes there to convey that water under the industrial park drive towards the area where that detention basin is. And then a third area is a box culvert on Park there, or Front Street, Front and Fourth. There's a box culvert there, and we upsized that just to kind of lessen the flow restriction. Could you go to the second video? So with all of those improvements, it's something more like this, where again it's a heat map. So the dark red color is deep water, but that's a detention pond. So it's basically holding back that water and then letting it flow out slowly. You will see there is a little bit of light blue in here, and that's capturing the 0 to 3 inch standing water, and then a large storm that could just be the amount of water sitting in the grass. So you'll notice in the third PDF or the third exhibit I've got there, that's showing the difference that the improvements would make. Or anticipated to make. So between the second and the third video there, or second and third page, I actually have those on the folder as well. Figure 3 is the existing, just for the audience. And then figure 5 would be what the proposed would look like. So that's the existing flooding, and the green is less flow. The red gets all the way up to a little over 5 feet. So that pipe under by the railroad track there, that kind of stages up and lets water flow through. But you can see the difference here. There's hardly any flooding or standing water within that whole residential area as a result of detaining that water upstream.
So can you go back to figure 3? We were amazed as staff at how accurate this was, because y'all remember a few years ago, we had to shut down Highway 21 because the water was that deep. And that's exactly kind of what's pictured here and what's been modeled. So I think you guys feel like this is a good project to help mitigate a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been told by our grant administrator that this is be an excellent project to do as a part of this mid-mod money.
So there's a great deal of benefit to everyone downstream of that industrial park, including TxDOT's 21. Any questions, comments?
It was May of 2021, yes? And how much rain in that amount of time? A lot, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
So that would have fallen under the 100-year flood?
Could have, yeah. Hurricane Harvey was somewhere between a 500 and 1,000-year storm. One misconception is that doesn't mean this storm happens once every 100 years. It has a 1% chance of happening. So you would expect it to happen every 100 storms, a 100-year storm.
Okay, everything in the yellow in the first page, there's where that's the address. But you get south of 21 on North Front Street, Broadway, which is south of 21, and then the west 8th Street, and where it comes up to Banks. That initial, a lot of that water comes, something there's a lot that comes from underneath that pipe of railroad tracks by the park.
Yeah, there's other drainage areas.
Right there. I mean, as soon as we get it right, it's normally a flood, but it's over it's taking everything you can, it's over the road most of the time. And is any of that addressed? I mean, I didn't see that. I'm sure probably will get some, but there's a lot of water that comes from that railroad side. Those big culverts there.
Yeah, and that was an area that we talked about that as well. They're really they're kind of independent until they get to the bottom left of the exhibit there.
Any other questions, guys?
What's the size of that detention pond?
It's 2 acres surface area. There may be the potential there's a kind of a sliver lot that runs parallel to the tracks if the landowner there would be interested or willing to part with that. It's not really usable. It's not very usable space because it's in a low area, so there could be potential to expand it a little bit more. I should say there will be, so directing the water into the pond, there will be almost like a berm on adjacent to San Antonio to kind of create more depth, more storage area for that pond.
That pond will be right there in the front corner of that Moon Street.
Correct.
most businesses today that are built, are developments, have retention ponds, for the back money. But, I mean, was there a lot of new buildings that were added there, or was the same structures on those existing slabs? On the original plan?
I think there's some new buildings that were built there.
I mean, there's new buildings throughout the industrial park.
And I should say, as far as the land that we would utilize for this project, I've had some preliminary conversations with Mr. File. I think he probably wanted to work with us.
Well, that's why I was willing with that. I was willing to work with all that, a lot was created, from the industrial park itself, but I think a lot of that's coming from, a lot of the new construction, just, there were years ago, part of that burn, part of the structures, closer to OSR, rail tracks. But they haven't been able to rebuild on that, like I said, slab.
Any other discussion?
So as we go through this, like I mentioned, all three of these projects are a part of that mid-mod money, but as we start, we have a very short window to put in, we still apply for money that's already been, earmarked for us. It doesn't make sense to me, but we have a short window to get that application in, so I don't want to have strain in the grant administrator writing a proposal for something the council doesn't want to do. So that's kind of why we brought these in front of you, so we can go ahead and say, yes, that's a project we want to take on, and we go ahead and put that application in. So, hopefully, I hope we've answered all your questions. If there's any more, then let us know how you want us to move forward.
It should have, this money is allocated to the city, but there are specific areas where it has to be used. It's just for mitigation, so, it can't just be used to repave a street. That wouldn't qualify to use for this money.
Is there any estimated costs on
This detention pond, the pipes that I discussed, kind of all the improvements you see on page 3 there, is in the 300,000 range. It really depends on, some of that could help with, if you offsite some of the dirt that we're digging out of the pond. The adjacent landowner was interested in that, so I can help, lower those costs even more if they don't have to truck it very far.
So do we have a motion to utilize the community development grant method of distribution funds for a detention pond project to improve drainage flows for the northwest portion of the city?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, utilizing community development grant method of distribution funds for the procurement of backup generators for water production facilities.
So I'll kind of set this up, and we'll there's much that you can answer on this one, but currently we have two water production facilities. We've got one at the warehouse, we've got another water production facility off of County Road 300. We currently have backup generation at the warehouse that we can carry the whole system on. It's not easy. We've got to do some turning of valves out in the field, but we're able to maintain the two pressure ponds off of that area. This would just provide more redundancy, and again, that's the kind of projects that they're looking for on these. So we have a more resilient approach when it comes to disaster events. So this would give us redundancy across the whole system. That way we can maintain both water production facilities should we have an extended power outage. So as we get everything sized to carry the well out off the 300 plus the high service pumps that actually push the water up into the water towers, we'll have a better idea of what size generator and the cost on it. I don't know if y'all read any of that yet.
Yeah, we did. It's in the $350,000 range for this size generator. It would be a pretty substantial generator, and it would be natural gas, so tie right into the system.
So that was kind of easy. I don't know if y'all got any questions or.
What's the load of that generator, that natural gas?
4 kV. That's something. I think it's going. It's pretty substantial.
That'll be set. Well, what would that be?
We'd set it over 300. Question?
Do we have a motion to utilize the community development grant method of distribution funds for the procurement of a backup generator for water production facilities? Do you have a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. And last on the regular agenda, utilizing those same funds for the procurement of a backup generator for lift station facilities.
Should probably start this off by explaining what a lift station is. Most of your sewage, if it flows downhill, right, as the saying goes, but you get to a point where it can't flow downhill anymore, and we need to go up the hill. So it falls into a wet well at a lift station, we pump it up the hill, and then it continues to gravity flow the rest of the way. What we're looking at doing here is we want to make sure we utilize all the funds that we were allotted. So I want to make sure and have more than enough projects to take care of those funds. Maybe we'll get lucky and these things come in less expensive than what they're looking like. But we want to go ahead and apply to have at least one or two more backup generators for some of the lift station projects that we're working on. We're still looking at doing Caldwell Country, Pit Grill, and hopefully Cobbers Hollow with some ARPA funds. And this funding will just supplement that, because ARPA funds, it doesn't look like it's going to cover the actual lift stations and the generator. And we need backup generation, at least at Pit Grill and Caldwell Country. So the idea behind this was to utilize whatever funding we have remaining to go ahead and procure those generators, as utilizing these funds. We're required, TCQ requires us to either have backup generation on site or have that lift station basically backup generation ready, where you could take a mobile unit and just plug it in and go. So, one of the two, it would be nice to have generation on site, so we know, we can monitor that. Know that it's on, and we're running if we, again, had an extended outage due to a storm event or those.
That's a smaller generator.
Yes.
The estimate right now is around 150. So the three projects combined are around 800,000, which is just slightly over the allocation.
For much needed items. Any questions for Camden for the lift station generator? Okay, if not, do we have a motion to utilize the community development grant method of distribution funds for the procurement of a backup generator for the lift station facility?
Motion.
Do you have a second? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion passes. Next, we have the Department of Community reports. Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
I have a question about building permits and any type of construction permits. Is there a fine for someone who does not obtain a building permit?
It's in the ordinance, yes, it is.
Yes.
So another question. So is when we get a building permit application report, does that contain every permit that was pulled for that reporting period?
Yeah, it should be a monthly report, so it's for that prior month.
Right. That should contain every permit that was pulled. And then, under code enforcement report, I understand Mr. Denson is at a school this week.
He is at a school, I don't know if it's code enforcement. It is code enforcement, so yes.
Very good.
So we're excited about it. He's gonna pick some of that back up, and, we're excited to get that program moving again.
Any comments about the Department and Community reports? For those of you who might be new to a council meeting, all of this information is available on the city website, and it's a couple of clicks away. So the reason it's not shared with this is it's actually on the website. And finally, administrative elected official reports.
Well, I'm just gonna briefly, I've been tied up quite a bit the last 2 days, so I'll make it quick. Talk about the power outage that we had, and kind of where we stand on that. So what happened was, there's basically a tap changer on our transformer that will adjust as incoming voltage fluctuates up and down. We've got to take that tap changer and move it, one way or the other to kind of even out the voltage that we put out to the distribution system. So our load tap changer on Monday got hung up all the way at 16 over, so we were pushing out high voltage. So, we suffered, we had a lot of issues with that. We tried everything that we could to kind of get that thing back while we had it under load, and it didn't budge. We tried everything. We had technicians from LCRA come in and try to help us out. We exhausted all efforts, so then we ended up having to take that. It was about a 35-minute outage. So during that outage, we were able to pull that kind of the gearbox that runs that LTC apart. We had basically the gear teeth got out of sequence with the rest of the gearbox. So we were able to get in, and we're not sure how that happened, but we were able to get it fixed while it was not under load. Put everything back together. What we've done is we've kind of cranked that LTC back down to an acceptable level for the majority of the time, but we have it in manual. So we don't know if an electronic problem caused a mechanical problem or vice versa. So what we're doing is we've got that tap changer in manual. So the only way that it moves is if we go over there and push a button to move it up or down. Now the problem with that is if we have fluctuations in incoming power, so our transmission voltage changes drastically, it affects what we push out on the other side. So we had a couple of periods over about 10 o'clock last night, about 10:30 this morning, where we had some fluctuations on the transmission system that caused us to spike voltage. So I've reached out to Entergy. They're supposed to call me anytime there's any kind of disturbance. If they put a capacitor bank on that would affect the voltage on the system, anywhere in Texas, they're supposed to give me a call so we can have somebody at the station so we can monitor that voltage and make the adjustments that we need to. So that's kind of the Band-Aid. What we're doing is we're trying to find everything that we can to replace that gearbox. And when we do that, we'll have to take probably a 3, 4, 5 day outage. So we're also working to get a mobile transformer from LCRA that they'll come and they'll park. And if we park it there in the yard, if we get everything done right, there won't be any interruption of power at all. We should be able to kind of join the two together and then open up from our transformer, and then all of our load will be carried off of their transformer. We can make the repairs to ours, which we need to comb through it pretty good to kind of see really what caused this problem, because it hadn't just happened once. It's kind of locked itself out before. And then just what do we need to get us to the end of the transformer life on that one? Just kind of give it a little rehab. So we're working on locating all the pieces to that puzzle. When we get them, we'll put a plan together and kind of make sure that the public's aware of it. I think it's important to note that we tried to put it, as soon as we knew we were going to have to take an outage, put it on the website, did a social media post. Y'all probably got the alert on your phones. Coordinated with industries here, school district, and the hospitals. So we tried to do everything we could to get the information out. But I'm kind of gonna stop there. There was a lot of, any questions?
And it was not a minor repair, it was actually a major ordeal.
Anytime you have to work on a transformer, I mean, there's, you know, I felt like we were at risk for having a long outage, as in like
Days.
probably 18 to 36 hours if we couldn't patch this thing back together. We'd be waiting to get a mobile transformer in, and so there was the potential for it to be worse.
We appreciate the electrical crew doing
Yes,
everything they did.
yes. Very thankful to have those guys.
So
Those
we
guys came in early, worked through lunch.
35 minutes out, so appreciate that. Melissa? Me? Jess? Cameron? I have one thing. I met Raylene Murray. She is in charge of the county-wide recycling program. And I don't know if you know, the county is doing a great job. There's stations throughout for, I know for sure, tires and some other like recycling stations throughout the county. She had just approached me and asked if the city would be interested in purchasing 4 or 6 of the recycle trash bins. Like when we have a large gathering like summer concerts, any chamber downtown event, Main Street event, Kolach Festival, if we could purchase some of these, and then they would be responsible for picking them back up and taking them where they need to be. So that's something we can talk about later. But anyway, I think that the city can help support the county-wide recycling. And this is for water bottles and cans, because at a downtown event, glass bottles aren't allowed. So anyway, just something we can talk about later. But like I said, they're all gung-ho and are wanting to do a spring clean, like promotional thing for the county and city. So anyway, do you have anything else, guys? I appreciate all of you coming. I love to see a full house because that means you guys are concerned about your community, and that is, I would much rather see all of these seats full than 1 or 3 chairs full. So again, I thank you all very much for coming. And do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion.
Do we have